Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show hosted by a French professor who's recording over here. Over there is better lighting, that's why I usually record next to my window, but I had to be next to my tape deck with auto reverse to review the album Component System with the Auto Reverse by Open Mike Eagle. Now this is an album I'm catching up on. It came out last year, I listened to it, I liked it, but I didn't review it. I'm not quite sure why. I think at the time there's a lot of stuff coming out, but I always knew I was going to get back to it. It's been requested many, many times, and I appreciate those who care enough about my opinion to ask me to tell you what my opinion is. I think maybe part of it is that his previous album was such an emotionally impactful experience for me. So his last album, All About Divorce, was the best description I've heard in rap or any other genre of the experience of getting divorced. Okay, that's just what the album was. It was so well done, especially the feelings of being in your early middle ages and being divorced, which I was in my early middle ages when I was divorced. And so this album is interesting because when you really listen to it, it's very much a progression. It's building on that. It's still in that same realm. And in that way, it makes it somewhat unique. There's a lot of rap albums made by people in their middle ages, right? I mean, everything that Jay-Z or Nas or Kanye does, that's rappers in their middle ages. But very few rappers rap about being middle-aged. And I think it's a shame. I think the last couple of years have shown that rap artists, I'm not even going to say rap artists, but that the genre of hip-hop and its fans are more open to emotional honesty, right? We don't have to be in this constant kayfabe of I'm the toughest, I'm the best, all that. You could be a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more honest. So as you move into middle age, there's a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, a lot of thoughts that you have which aren't often described. And now we don't have to worry so much about rap being a young man's game. I mean, you see behind me a lot of my tapes from when I was younger. I got Curtis Blow and Kool Moe Dee up there on cassette. Great examples of very good early rappers who basically once they hit 30, everyone's like, I don't want to hear it. Whatever that is, that's old. We don't want to hear from you anymore. I mean, they're revered now as pioneers, but still, they were ignored when they hit middle age. So I'm very happy to have this album, to have this artist making this kind of music. Because, not a lot of rap music that I listen to can I relate to that much. And even though I don't have a shared experience with him, I'm not African American, I didn't grow up in Chicago, I haven't had a successful rap career, he's able to hit on certain notes, which are just sort of like, oh yeah. And it's not even like tired jokes, like, you wake up every morning and every morning something new hurts, which is true, but like it's not even that kind of joke. You have to excuse, it's also noisier over here because I'm not by the window. So you have to excuse that little bit of noise. That's going to go away in a second. Got a baby upstairs. It's not those kinds of tired jokes. It's more the fact that he's at a stage in his creative career where he's looking back and realizing some mistakes that he made. He's thinking about his status as an artist, as a creative person, and he's thinking about it. And he's sad about it, and he's happy about it. He has very mixed emotions. And as a middle-aged guy who has a lot of creative ambitions, I can tell you that I relate to this entirely. So it's fun because, most of my audience is young. It's just, that's the nature of YouTube, right? Not a lot of people my age watch videos by people like me about my stuff, about the way I would talk. So it's fun because I think if you're younger than the age of 30, this is a very instructive album sort of about a lot of these feelings. And in particular, the life of an artist. The whole thing is just superbly produced, track to track to track to track. Not a bad track on this album. It's funny, it's heartfelt. There's maybe a couple too many what I would call posse cuts. And I would say there are 3 songs on this album that are just transcendently good, just like 3 of the best songs of the year. There's also what I think might be like one of the verses of the year on this album. It's not even by Open Mike Eagle. Stay tuned to find out about that. But that's how I feel about this album. So let's talk about the stamp, okay? If you want to listen to the stamp, just a click above the Bismarcky alarm clock to hear the song 79th and Stony Island. Now, part of being middle-aged is you reminisce a lot about the past. I looked it up. Stony Island is a street in Chicago. An open mic eagle grew up in Chicago. And this is one of these three songs on the album I think is just transcendently good. Particularly this sample. So it's Quelle Crise, which is what I call him. I don't think that's how he pronounces it, but hey, you got a French name, I'm going to pronounce it in a French way. Quelle Crise produces this. It's got this slowed down sample. This like, remember me. Or it's the monster in me. I can't tell what it's saying, but then there's great drum beat underneath. And really just listen to how the drum beat develops. And at times there's this little hi-hat sound. There's even at a certain point this sort of offbeat piano pluck. Like piano plonk. It's great. You know, I had this first verse where he's reminiscing about his childhood, standing on a phone book. It's not just that he is a middle-aged guy rapping about middle-agedness. It's that he's so unashamed of it. Because it's hard. It really is hard when you hit middle age to own it, as the young people would say. You know, like, it's really hard to just be like, yep, that's... But using the reference standing on a phone book, when in reality, young people don't know what phone books are. They just don't. When I get a phone book, I put it right in recycling. I don't even open it, you know? So just right off the bat, but also it's a very evocative image of being so young that you have to stand on a phone book to get something. And then we get to this interesting chorus where it becomes clear that this isn't really a song about his youth. It's more about his long-standing relationship to the American dream. Cold American wind, great pop chorus here. Cold American wind, dream American dream. Come see the monster in me. And it's about this correlation between the American dream and the monster, right? The kind of monster that's in between us, right? That is inside of us. I'm sorry, I'm saying more mistakes than I usually do. It's been a weird month. January is a weird month for music reviewers because there's not much new music. So Fantano is out there talking about Bone Thugs and Harmony. I'm doing all my videos about how to teach a hip hop class. It's a hard month. My mouth is not used to making words. Also, I'm not teaching right now, so that's weird. Anyways, so we got this great chorus and then leads into this amazing second verse. What I love about it is there's this sort of like easy lead up to the second verse. And it's more like sing-songy. And I think the quick turns ruin us. That's interesting. The quick turns ruin us. When I saying us, I think he means Americans in general. Probably Black Americans in specific, based on what's coming up next here. But just sort of quick turns in fortune ruin us. And it's true. You know, everyone who wins the lottery dies poor, right? That's just a weird fact about life, right? Nobody who wins the lottery is happy to win. Is happy, right? I used to love Big Bird, then I saw his N-word supercut. I don't quite get that, except I think the idea is that even the things that he associates with childhood and innocence are actually secretly racist. And Kanye gets to me, and then I watch his documentary, and I love this because I'm not a Open Mike Eagle super fan. I mean, I would be if I was paying more attention. Like, I love everything I've heard by him, and every time I've seen him interviewed, he just seems like super awesome. He seems super awesome. Jesus Christ. This is why I need to do more videos. He seems super awesome. Smash the like bucket if that's the kind of commentary you want to see from somebody with a doctorate in philosophy from the University of California, Santa Barbara. Anyways, I imagine that all rap artists must have a very confusing relationship with Kanye West. It doesn't matter who you are, where you started, if you're underground, if you're mainstream, whatever it is. I imagine that's sort of doubled if you're from Chicago. And this idea, Kanye gets to me and then I watch his documentary, there's so much unsaid in that. He's not saying how Kanye gets him because he doesn't have to say, because we understand where he comes from. We understand the kind of outlook he has in his mind because he projects that outward in all of his songs. I'm in a weird place mentally, and don't be ignorant is blissing me. You know, this idea that you can use ignorance, like, so don't try to just ignore these hard things. Ignore the racism behind Big Bird. Ignore the racism and horrible ideology of Kanye, and this came out before the anti-Semitism stuff. If you ignore him, then you diss in me. about the Earl that can't see straight. So it's this amazing thing about an artist from Chicago who managed to be in the mainstream and the alternative stream, who is sort of the monster that is described in this chorus, right? Makes sense, right? Like that the American dream is what Kanye West lived, and it turned him into a monster. And then it ends in the most beautiful way. And then the mother effing world blew. I got the same worldview, a brain full of old school rules and memories like flesh wounds. The cure isn't in a test tube, it's in the sound of my son belly laughing in the next room. So here he has the wisdom of old age, the wisdom of middle age, which is that success is never going to make you happy. It's just not. Success is going to make you successful, which is great. And money does relieve a lot of stress. I'm not trying to say like money doesn't make you happy. No, but poverty can make you miserable. So what does that mean? But it's more that like he's getting at the real truth of existence, which is that happiness comes from our connections to other people. And when you're younger, you think that happiness comes from success or from ambition or from achieving or being the king of the world. Effing the world for 72 hours, when in reality, the true happiness is your son belly laughing from the next room. So this line has a particular importance to me because I've been with Open Mike Eagle on this journey from his divorce here. And here he is, and like this feeling of the happiness, he's not even with his son. It's like he hears his son in the other room. It's like he knows that life is continuing. He knows that his son is going to be standing on the equivalent of a phone book. Whatever it is that is a phone book now, right? Like that he's going to go through those experiences, but he's experiencing that life through this connection. And the fact that he's not Kanye, and the fact that he's not having this success, which we hear all over this whole album, so much of this album is a meditation on his lack of success, doesn't really matter because he has the son belly laughing in the next room. And to be fair to Kanye, the angriest and most dejected he ever sounds is when he talks about his estrangement from his kids. So, at least Kanye understands that that's the real, well, at least Kanye sometimes understands that that's the real thing that he's losing. It's not about song rights. And then it ends with the sound of WHPK. This is a little Easter egg I put back here. That's the number of WHPK in Chicago. But it's doing that weird like thing that happens, so I'm going to turn it off. But, you know, it's a very conscious decision, obviously, to go back to his youth, and this must have been where he listened to music when he was younger, listening to hip-hop when he was younger. It's a very sort of situated album. The album is very situated in the 1980s of Chicago, 80s and 90s of Chicago, kind of going back there. Okay, let's go back to the rest of the album a little bit quicker. First track is called The Song with the Secret Name. A lot of these titles and the album title itself is very connected with experiences which have been erased through technology. So there used to be like secret songs on CDs or on tapes, and sometimes they wouldn't have a name at all. Like they just wouldn't know. Like they just be on there. You know, that's something that people used to be able to do. And this album is very much in conversation with old media, old mediums, old ways of ingesting art. Very cool, swirling beats, starts and stops. Talks about the arc light. So I lived in LA for like 2 years or a year, and like 20 years ago. And I also relate to his relationship to Los Angeles because it's always ambiguous. He's never like, I love LA, right? He's never in Randy Newman territory, but nor is he like, you know, I hate LA. It's always sort of in between, and it's hard to describe. But when you live in Los Angeles, you always have a really conflicted relationship with Los Angeles, like more than any other place that you live. You know, I mean, I live like in Rochester, New York, and I'm conflicted because it snows too much, but it's not quite the same thing. So using the term ArcLight, which is a specific movie theater, which actually reopened when I lived there, you know, like that's a very specific Los Angeles connection. He says real like ArcLight, which is funny because ArcLight kind of always feels fake to me. Really kind of psychedelic start to this first verse, and then just all this kind of domestic feeling, you know. Supposed to move on, don't know, that's what I'm posed to do. I suppose this is continuing on from his divorce album. This ain't a boohoo, this ain't a lecture, this isn't a guess or some conjecture. I bought me some knives. I bought a zester. I need a new day. It's been forever. To just buy. So like this is a great turn of phrase because buying a knife, like a knife implies violence, right? But that's not what he's saying. He's not saying violence. He's saying he bought a knife. He bought a zester, right? To like, my wife is a good cook. She always like zests orange peels. So like it's actually not a tool of violence. It's not like I bought a knife. It's like he went to Bed Bath & Beyond and bought this and bought these items for his life, which again, not only is he kind of like middle-aged and middle class, but he's not afraid to do it. He's not afraid to represent that lifestyle in his music. Next song is called TDK, Scribbled Intro. This is a real artifact right here. This is a TDK SA90. Now, I actually preferred Maxell tapes. I preferred XL2s or XL2Ss if I was getting fancy. It's hard to describe to you if you're a young person. Do you know the importance of a TDK tape? Like, this was the cool thing back in the day because your friend had a CD and he'd give you you'd give him a blank tape and then you'd copy it, So I got the Lone Star and Cable Guy soundtrack on there. 2 albums on one tape. So this is interesting because he calls it, he specifically references this exact tape. This is legitimate from the 90s. I don't even know what's on here. Seriously. It's halfway through. I need to listen. What's on my old TDK? Let's find out. Let's hope it's not something super weird that's embarrassing. All right, let's see. What's on my old TDK? Is there anything? I think that's me playing guitar 25 years ago. Oh, listen to that funk jam. Oh my god, I'm still playing the same solos. Yeah, so anyways, no scribbled intro on this. I'll have to listen to that some other day. This is totally improvised, by the way. I had no idea what was going to be on that tape. So, it's this interesting idea of an album being... talking about how yesterday is safer. I like this because it's a commentary on the nature of nostalgia and on remembering that yesterday is safer. It is. Like, it's safer because it already happened, it happened. And so this is an album about how this song about how every album is a collection of yesterdays. So, he's making this connection to this very... If you're an old head, you know the importance of a TDK tape or a Maxell tape, right? But it's actually more than that because it's just talking about this false security that we have in remembering things such as TDK tapes with the scribbled intro. Then we get to the stamp, which I already discussed, 79th and Stony Island. And then moving on to I'll Fight You. Nice kind of 2 and 4 hi-hat beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Chorus is kind of catchy. I'll fight you every day. Interesting verse where references like porn stars. Can I say that without getting demonetized? I just said it. And TV news anchors. He makes references to writing raps on the megabus. And again, this is another thing that I think is important because I don't like it when rappers get preachy about not rapping about money. Okay? It bugs me. It's a pet peeve I have. It's good not to rap about money, I think. I think it's important that we have a very healthy current of music that does not have goods and the acquisition of goods as the core artistic statement, right? Or the expression of the artistic statement. But it really bugs me when it's like, I don't rap about this, I don't rap about that. I think it misses a lot of the point of hip-hop. So this is the better way to do it, where instead of saying, I don't rap about being rich, rap about being on a megabus, that's relatable to those of us who have taken a megabus. Megabuses are these buses that cost it's the cheapest way to get from one place to the Chinatown of a different place. Okay, you take megabuses in New York, take megabuses up here in Buffalo, and like megabuses are this huge thing that people who want to travel but don't have a lot of money have access to. So, Circuit City. This is maybe the best track on the album. I don't know. And this is produced by Madlib, who I understand, is a very big deal. I don't know his music that well, as we'll discuss later. I don't even really know the album Mad Villainy very well. At all, actually. I don't know the album at all. So feel free to downvote me, hate me, come to my house, smash my mug. Unsmash the like bucket. But hey, how'd you turn back on 88.5? But this track is just great. It's like a hippie psychedelic sample. It almost sounds to me like a sample of live Frank Zappa. I don't know if that's what it is, like early Frank Zappa, not the kind of later stuff. But it's just, it has this great epic feeling to it. And just this great example of how... Okay, so my favorite movies, my favorite TV shows are all comedies. I'm a smart guy. I'm not going to pretend like I don't think I'm a smart guy. And part of the reason that I like being smart is that I like appreciating comedy. Because, as Henry Bergson will tell you, comedy is one of the main tools of intelligence, right? That's the reason why humans have comedies and dogs don't. And just... I like dumb comedies, like I like whatever. I like watching Jackass. I like watching stuff that's kind of dumb. But like the ability the thing that's sometimes underestimated is how comedy can be funny and smart and moving at the same time, right? It doesn't have to just be like smart and funny. It can also be moving. Even though there's a certain amount of emotional distance implied in comedy, a certain winking smile, it can communicate more than drama, more than a sort of straight register. So this whole open verse is all very funny. And he's very funny all the way throughout this album, but it never comes at the expense of the personal nature of it. I'm a brand new man doing the same dance. It only seems confusing because I changed pants. That's a great example. That's funny, okay? But this is his life, that he's in this, he's stuck in this place. He's stuck in this place where he's contemplating his success in life, and he's contemplating his post-divorce life, his life as a middle-aged person. And he's doing the same thing. It always seems confusing because I changed pants, meaning that the difference is so minimal that you can barely even tell. In 60 days, same as cash, a frog splash off the table like Damon Dash, poor man's 3 stacks, that means yours, it's the freaks that I speak for, the fam that I check for, I seen the mess in your desk drawer, 4D chessboard, but lose at Connect 4. So all these different references to rap executives like Damon Dash and rap legends like 3 stacks, all mixed in together, and this whole idea of like 4D chessboard, but you lose at Connect 4, that's just great. That's hilarious. That's like a hilarious diss. And there's the verse even changes halfway through. Still Rift comes on. This is one of the posse cuts on the album. Posing with opposable thumbs, get Fonzarelli'd in the deli on disposable drums. A silly, very rhyme-rich verse. Posing with opposable thumbs, making reference to Happy Days, Arthur Fonzarelli. Again, so many of these references are just like extra references, right? Like how many 15-year-olds know who Fonzarelli is? None, but doesn't matter. Fonzarelli in the deli with the disposable drums. And then we get to Video Dave's verse. And I don't know. I'm going to make a guess here. I'm going to make a guess that Video Dave has been playing some Mario Kart and some Super Smash Bros. I don't... Listen, his name is Video Dave. So I assume he might like video games. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know what the guy's from. I have no idea what his race is, his age is. I have no idea. As far as I know, he might be from Boca Raton with like face tats and stuff. I don't know what he looks like, but I can tell you, pintails on donkeys at birthday parties, racing on the beach, leaving the opposition salty. I don't know. Like donkey makes me think of Donkey Kong. And I understand pin the tails on donkeys at birthday parties. Walking up the stairs like the elevator's faulty. Don't monkey around moving machinery or you'll be sorry. This feels to me like he's playing as Donkey Kong on one of the stages on Smash Bros. There's like this stage where there's like it's like on a construction place, like monkey around, saying monkey and donkey in the same verse. So I don't know. That's my nerdy supposition. I'm a gamer. Next song is I Retired Then Changed My Mind. This might be the true emotional heart of the album. Just very warbled beat, hissy beat. 5 piano notes warbled in the back. And it's all these regrets about his career and where he is. I'm getting too old. My first album title might have been too bold. I conjured up a gremlin. How do I get rid of you? What the F is art rap in every damn interview? Apparently his first album had something to do with the term art rap, and he regrets it. Yeah, that's a terrible title. Like, with age, he can tell that it was a terrible idea to call himself art rap. Right? Like, just be art rap, but don't dare call yourself art rap, because then you're going to have to answer what is art rap, you know? Like, I love it. I love the understanding. And here's the thing. If I knew of Open Mike Eagle when I was younger, I would have heard the song Art Rap, the title Art Rap, and I'm like, yeah, man, he gets it, man. Art rap, that's what I like. I don't like this mainstream stuff. Yeah, art rap. But he's like old enough to understand, like, I didn't know. Don't edgelord name your albums. Photos of the show drop and I got a big stomach. Just, you know, the insecurity that comes with getting older, seeing your body change. Very relatable. Stakes might be lower, but it's more of a mission. This indie-ish is more like a war of attrition. So here he's talking about the actual difficulty of being an indie rap star. It's a war of attrition because people keep falling off. People keep disappearing, right? And it's interesting because the whole time he talks about, like, I could have had a better stage show. He talks about the TV show that he had that didn't work out. And it's funny because I really relate to this. There are multiple times in my life where I thought, this is it. My creative endeavors are going to pay off. You know, I had a band. My band, you heard me play guitar. My band was never going anywhere. But it doesn't matter. But sort of after that, you know, like I tried to do this thing as a podcaster and a Star Wars collector, and like I always felt like this was going to be the thing. You know, I was interviewed for NPR once for This American Weekend, not This American Life, but their weekend show. The guy came out to my house, interviewed me, talked to me about my life, my brother, my collection. Never aired, never showed up. I was interviewed. I did this whole video at a Star Wars convention, and I was like, it was like made by Verizon and made by the same guys who did Super Size Me and all that stuff. And it was like this beautiful video. And it was going to be released on YouTube. And the previous video had millions of views. And I was going to be like a big star. But then Verizon bought the rights to it. And it was only released on an app on the phone for 2 months. You know? Like I always kind of felt like I was like about to make it. And the feeling... I actually recorded an interview with Weird Al Yankovic, and I was going to release it, and that was going to be it. But for legal reasons, I can never release that. It sucks. I'm not even supposed to talk about it. You know, like I kept on thinking, like, this is going to be my break. And if you are a creative person in your middle ages, you're going to know how many times you feel that way. Hell, I still feel that way with this channel, and I'm having a good time with this channel. I am succeeding way beyond my wildest dreams. But I did an interview with Anthony F. Fantano, and I kind of thought maybe that's gonna whoosh, maybe I'm gonna catch wind, and all the Fantanites are gonna just whoosh, and I'm just gonna be in the upper echelons of this. Fine, didn't happen. Keep working, keep grinding, keep doing it, you know. But that feeling, and I can't imagine being Open Mike Eagle. He had a show on Comedy Central, like. All the people in the underground know his name. Like, he's been on TV. He's affable. He's talented. But he's not... Hey, Toby. Uncle Toby. Hey. Toby, come here. Here, you want to see him? He's barking at the window. Toby, nobody likes you. Go away. That'll get you to interact. Tell me if you like Toby. Anyways, I cannot imagine the level of disappointment and frustration that must be felt being this close to what you perceive of as stardom. Which is why I go back to that previous line and why it's so important. That what actually matters is his son belly laughing in the other room. What matters is the fact that my baby daughter is going to wake up in like half an hour and I'm going to get to hold her and she's going to spit up all over my shirt and I'm going to be like, should I change it? And I'm not really going to change it. And then I'm going to smell like cheese all day, But like him coming to terms with that is really meaningful. And it seems to me that this album is about reluctantly coming to peace with that. He says, rest in peace to Bismarcky. I got Bismarcky up there. If you don't know, Bismarcky is one of my top 3 favorite rappers of all time. I just picked this up, actually, off eBay. It's a sealed cassette of the original version of I Need a Haircut for sale for 99 cents. This has got that Alone Again, Gilbert O'Sullivan. This is the album that is the reason why samples are hard to clear, the reason why we have to wait till this March to hear De La Soul. More about them later. Anyways, I think this is intentional too because Bismarcky sort of was in that realm as well. Like he had success, but not a lot of success. I mean, he obviously is thought of as a one-hit wonder, which is like insanely offensive for how important and meaningful his work was to so many people. I'm artsy and working for WKRP. Another reference strictly for boomers and Xers. WKRP is one of the best sitcoms ever made about a radio station. Probably everything I learned about what is cool was between Fonzarelli and WKRP. One silver lining in the rhymes that I wrote today, 20 years in, now I know my own vocal range. I finally figured it out. Ish took a minute. So here we get the sense that he finally feels as though he understands what he's supposed to be doing. Not talking about art rap, not trying to be this or that. He's like, this is it. That he's actually realized his artistic ambition. And he's done it. And the great thing is, it doesn't matter as long as his artistic ambition provides him a living, he's won life because he's got the kid belly laughing in the next room. So you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's great. Next track is Burner Account, which is interesting because so many of these references on this album are like very dated references, TDK tapes and all that stuff and component pieces. Toby, whatever's outside is not going to come inside. I'm protecting you, okay? A lot of people in the comments say they don't think you suck. So I don't edit my videos. You've never seen one of my videos before. So you got that going for you. Have I asked you to smash the like bucket yet? Underneath me there's a bucket that's called like. I want you to break it. I want you to subscribe to my channel. So this track, Burner Account, a very scuffed beat. Just very, very like strange sounding. The drum stutters a little bit. Again, it's by Keltrice. Eventually, basically kind of abstract jazz with a nice piano. He works a lot on his rhymes. I'm not going to point out every time he does a very well-worked rhyme, but my corner's so flamed up, my Bluetooth don't work. Got caught trying to pay for a YouTube growth spurt. Just YouTube, Bluetooth, growth spurt don't work. Interesting, very rich multisyllabic rhymes here. And then we have a back and forth with Arm & Hammer. I reviewed Elucid last year. I reviewed Billy Woods twice last year. I reviewed Arm & Hammer. They're not actually my favorite guest appearances on this album, even though I like them so much. I think it could be that the other guest appearances, mostly by Rift and Video Dave, they feel like they're just sort of like friends of Open Mike Eagle. It feels more in line with the attitude of the album, whereas this feels a little bit more like a way of sort of showing off, like, look, I got Arm & Hammer. I'm sure they're friends, and I'm sure they all get along. I'm not saying like they just cut a check and that's why they showed up. It's not like Snoop Dogg showed up here. By the way, can we do a Kickstarter? Snoop Dogg with Open Mike Eagle? That'd be funny. Yeah, but maybe they're just too high profile for this project for me. But I don't know. Next song is called For Doom, which is in honor of MF Doom, who died. And this is a very interesting song. So if you haven't been watching my series, I'm creating a class on hip hop music, hip hop culture and rap music, and I have an entire class dedicated to the art of rhyming. And I uploaded that a couple days ago. It's a very good video, actually. I'm pretty proud of it. And what's funny is I make reference to a Vox video, and that Vox video features Open Mike Eagle. And that features Open Mike Eagle exclusively talking about what does he love about MF Doom. So I talk all the time on this channel about how between 2002 2018 I didn't listen to new music hardly at all. I just ignored it all, whatever. So I missed MF Doom. I just missed him. I'm sure he's great. At some point I'm going to do a review of Food. There's too many artists that I love who love him for me to continue to ignore him. Beyond that Czarface project. So but this is the best case, I think, for MF Doom, because this is a rare example of a song that is just love. It's just love for an artist. It's just a heartfelt expression of love and care. Sing along, you a-holes, bring it on, commando. Hand wrote just like a letter to the Viet Cong from Rambo. Read it all out, ramble, I know it. And yo, this candle, I'ma hold it over vocal samples. I'm a vandal and a poet. It seems as though a lot of the rhymes that he's working on here are trying to be in the vein of MF Doom. Again, I'm not enough of an expert, but I will tell you that it's, there's not a... Okay. Hey, rap fans, tell me, what are the best songs that are in tribute of people? Because obviously the most famous one is Terrible. I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy and Sting. Just, ugh, what a terrible song. But, there are some, particularly Bismarcky, My Man Rich, that comes to mind as a very good, heartfelt dedication song. But there's something about this that's just very honest and true, and especially in the context of the album, of someone who died in his middle age, MF Doom, someone who achieved the artistic success that I imagine Open Mike Eagle would like to succeed to reach. It's quite good, and it's just one verse. It's a eulogy. What's the matter? You didn't like my googly? Crenshaw and Homeland, more. I assume this is LA references here. Great simple beat. What I like about this is like basically just a West Coast beat. Like, this is not an underground rap beat. The rest of the album is an underground rap beat. This would work actually with that Snoop Dogg. It just sounds like that. Very kind of funny and true opening. He just seems very sort of in the pocket the whole time. He seems very easy over this beat in the way that he's rhyming. I wonder if he had more beats like this that were just maybe less ambitious, it might free him up a little bit in his style. I don't know. And then the next song, Multi-Game Arcade Cabinet. This opens up with Rap Ferreira, who I've talked about a couple times. I didn't review his last album either. I probably should. I love the clarity of his voice, the way that he rhymes. When talking about the relationship between poetry and hip-hop, Rap Ferreira is a great example of someone who is both a great poet and a great rap artist, and also a great rap artist who is a poet. Those are three separate things, right? Gin-soaked raisins by the fire while I strum these blues, ducking bad news in several precincts. This machine in my hands allows me to talk with dead ends. Mitochondrial Eve, the Mocha Lisa, the bogus rebreather, eyes full of fate, relapsed meat eater, handful of bullet grapes, Bodine, moving quiet as ghost feet. A sip is earned, a plot dreading its next turn. Just beautiful, complex. And then moving on to Video Dave with this, like Video Dave. So I really like this song because these three vocalists work really well together. We have this clarity of Rap Ferreira, and then we have the earnestness of Video Dave. One time I acted like O-Dog. I was a menace. Like, he just overpronounces everything. I take a slow jog or a walk. What's the difference, says the walker. Coincidence, says the stalker. I am not Spider-Man, says Peter Parker. Funny and cool. And then Open Mike Eagle makes an interesting reference. He says, I think I'm Orson Welles avoiding voicemail. Now, people who watch this channel know that I support Rap Genius. I support genius.com. They don't sponsor me. I think it's a good website. Get pissed at me all you want. Everyone hates it. They make so many mistakes. I grew up in this time, okay? Lyrics, if you are lucky, were on the inside, okay? Welcome to the Terror Dome is like my favorite rap song of all time. And I had a cassette copy of it. My brother had the vinyl, which I now have. So I didn't know the lyrics. So all that anti-Semitic stuff, I thought he was saying something else. I didn't even know what he was saying. Like I didn't even know what. There's a song on here where I couldn't figure out what the sample was. My friends and I had no idea. Get your dairy all the time. Now, thanks to the site Who Sampled, we know what the sample is. I think it's great. Now, of course, the problem is there's some mistakes on Genius. So for the first time ever in my entire life, I actually submitted a suggestion on Lyric Genius. Because they're talking about Orson Welles, and they talk about who he is, and saying he's avoiding voicemails from like producers because he wants to be an artistic guy. No. Orson Welles' last words were on voicemail. Voicemail, again, in older technology, you'd call and you'd leave a message on someone's what was called machine. They're like the machine for receiving voicemails, right? So it was to someone who was working on with movies. I thought it was Bogdanovich, but it might have been someone else. And his last words were literally, "Remind me to tell you about my mother." The guy who created Rosebud, the guy who created Citizen Kane, made sure his last words were poetic and interesting. So I think this is about avoiding death. I don't know. This is probably my favorite of the posse cuts on the album. It's just really, really quite good. Then we get the credits interlude, fine interlude, then peak lockdown raps. And I like this song because this is making the case that there needs to be more rap songs about the lockdown, more rap songs about COVID, which is true. And so the whole thing is recorded like a voice memo. I think it actually is a voice memo on his phone. And he, like, COVID's everywhere. The spirit and the experience, it's in all of our music. It's in all of our minds. It's everywhere. There's a haze over our entire civilization, over human civilization, working our way through COVID, working our way through getting out of lockdown, going in and out of lockdown. We are in an experience of a sort of collective post-traumatic experience. Like, we are in the midst of that. So why are we not talking about it? Why are we not rapping about it? Why is it like actually fairly rare? For my next trick, survival. Secretly, my favorite line on the whole album. Open Mike Eagle does a lot of great rhymes. I don't even think this rhymes with anything. For my next trick, survival. That's what it was. That's what COVID was. I know the dance and I do it good. I wish I could process as fast as computers could because we were working with computers to work our way through COVID. My thoughts, like termites chewing through the wood. We're stuck in lockdown. We can't get out. We're stuck with our thoughts. I'm from the inkwell. I'm too damn tired to remember another detail. I dedicate this to my brothers that never sleep well. Insomnia was a huge part of COVID. I suffered crazy insomnia through COVID. I was up till like, I talked about this on the channel. I used to get up like every day at like 4 o'clock in the morning, go down to the basement and eat butter chips. That's where I take tortilla chips and I dip them in butter and I eat them. Does that not sound like something Open Mike Eagle would do? I think it does. I dedicate this to my brothers that never sleep well. Thanks. I was writing this song on Twitter. Godzilla started fighting King Kong. I said, why not? Had a little giggle. This is so great because King Kong vs. Godzilla came out during COVID. It was one of these movies that was like sort of released in the theaters, or maybe not. It was just released online, like this huge, gigantic thing that we've always wanted. And don't tell me that the movie from the 70s counted, because it didn't, because that movie sucks. I don't care how much you love old style Godzilla. King Kong vs. Godzilla is a terrible movie that you can't watch. Godzilla looks worse than a Donkey Kong commercial from the 80s. Just terrible. Terrible. The original King Kong Godzilla, terrible movie. Sorry. A lot of bad Godzilla movies, and that's one of the worst. Very disappointing. So we have this new movie, Godzilla vs. King Kong, and that's the moment that we're in. Said not with a little giggle, this was the year that didn't happen. And that was the year that didn't happen. That was the feeling that we had. So thank you, Open Mike Eagle, because there's a chance that in 10 years, 20 years, I'll still be teaching. I will be teaching. I will be teaching in 20 years. Can't retire yet, right? And I'm going to have to try to explain to my students what COVID was about. And I might take this song. Next song is Kites. This is the third of the blindingly good songs here. Just the beat on here. It's like this flute and this kind of snare kind of rolling. It's produced by someone named Quest One. I don't know. I've never heard of this producer before. But it's this really inspirational, happy beat. And I realized what I liked about Video Dave, about Open Mike Eagle, and about Still Rift is the way the three of them interact, and especially over this kind of happy beat, reminds me strongly of De La Soul. And it was just announced yesterday that De La Soul is finally releasing their albums on streaming, which they were not able to do because Gilbert O. effing Sullivan made sure that this album had to be re-released without the song Alone Again, which, by the way the song Alone Again goes into the original version of On and On by Bismarcky is probably my favorite segue in hip-hop history. The way those two songs go together, it's gone. It's lost forever. It's lost forever, that segue. Anyways, so because of that, De La Soul used so many samples as curated and made with Prince Paul, and it's been this weird thing. I call it techno erasure. I don't know if that's a term that already exists, but they're erased. Like De La Soul was erased from hip hop history. Like fortunately, whatever the people will talk about them from time to time. They were in that Spider-Man movie, but still, like we had this real sense of loss. And this song reminds me, in particular. There was a movie called Judgment Night, which is sort of hated because the soundtrack introduced mixing metal and rap, not always to a good extent. But there's one song on there, Teenage Fan Club with De La Soul, a song called Fallen that samples Tom Petty, and it just has this bittersweet lightness to it, and the flow between Teenage Fan Club, who's making the music, and De La Soul, and the way they just go between them, it just has this beautiful, uplifting feeling. And that is the feeling that I get from Open Mike Eagle, that he's very much in this tradition, not so much of Bismarcky, but he really is in the tradition of De La Soul. And I'm not even going to say, like, oh, they don't make them like they used to, because there's a lot of rappers that are in that De La Soul lane. There are. That's why I don't think that we've lost anything, right? Like, I like De La Soul more than I like Open Mike Eagle, but that's just because I listened to De La Soul when I was 13 years old. I'm not certain that this album is substantially worse than a De La Soul album, right? But it's just, it's what you're used to. So, anyways, the interplay between these three artists gives me that De La Soul feeling. Video Dave, this is a great verse. Everything American is foreign. Everything embarrassing is boring. My grill's George Foreman. My head is less horseman. It's more Storm and Norman. So like his head is not the head of a horseman of the apocalypse, but also the headless horseman. Storm and Norman, who was Norman Schwarzkopf, was a general in the first Iraq War, who was a weird time in America. He was like a celebrity. He was like a celebrity general. How weird is that, right? Like he was like a celebrity. Like everybody knew who he was. Anyways, everything American is foreign is a great line. Makes me think about it almost every time I go. No, every single time I go to a urinal and it's made by American Standard, I leave and inside my head I say the following sentence: "The American Standard is a toilet." I say that. I say that in my head, and sometimes I say it to the people I'm with, and they go, "What?" And I say, "Forget it." But it's true. Everything American is foreign because we make it other places. Still Rift. This is that verse. Now listen, I've said it a few times at the end of the year here. The best verse of the year is Lupe Fiasco's Rappers Die Too Much. That's it. That's the verse. That's the best verse of the year. Nothing's going to top that. But this is really good. This Still Rift verse, again, his cadence is even kind of De La Soul-like, but it's this whole idea of dear first name. It's a letter from the dead. Dear first name, it looks as though I've passed on to a different place. If I should return here with a different face, erase my browser history, and gift my items to who we last discussed. Later, tell my kids the following exactly: my offspring, the government was after me. Just this letter from beyond the grave, and then it's kind of followed on by Mike's verse where he talks about carrying on without me. It's a beautiful intertwine between these three rappers. It's just an amazing song. This is probably why you wanted me to review this album so much, because it's so good. Dig-a-log, direct from digital, fully compatible. Look at that. Look at that patter right there. This is some 1992 patter. okay? This is how they're trying to get you to buy this tape. It's Digalog. It's Digalog. Why do I say that? Because growing up in the 80s and 90s, we were surrounded, we were pounded by all these commercials that were promising all these amazing technological advances, such as the CD-only bonus track at the end of this. So the CD-only bonus track is a funny idea. That's the final track on the album. It opens up and has all the way throughout all these different brands. You know, this is a Yamaha tape deck. I used to have a Nakamichi, which was the best. I don't know what happened to that. Damn, where's my knock? Anyways, all these brands that are being said, it used to be that the brand that you got was really important. The kind of things that were sold and bought. You know, everyone had their preferences. What kind of tape deck do you have? And the idea of the auto reverse is really interesting, because the idea you get to the end of the album, right? And then it will automatically reverse and go to the other side. So it has that seamless play. And it was cool because in a way it's sort of what streaming is now. If you have a repeat on, it's sort of auto reverse, you know, or repeat on a CD. So, but it represented the forefront of technology. And again, this is only for people our age, you know, who remember this kind of stuff. Pro tip, this is 40, making direct reference to his age again. That oldish, I miss it sorely. I wrote sick, but kicked it poorly. I'm the brick and mortar Rick and Morty. Just a great line. I'm a different sort of normie. Torched it, didn't try and warm me. All this great theme, the dual deck. Very simple beat here, produced by Diamond D. Nice drums, simple guitar lines. Aesop Rock comes on. Feel the bargain bin, Charles Dickens. My dinner goes, grandma with large slippers. Like he's going to eat the wolf, the big bad wolf. And then it ends with the very noticeable and very pronounced tape deck sound. The sound of a tape stopping. Now, I can't find my Patreon list. Is it up here? Yeah, it is. So there you go. So these are my Patreons that help me buy music. I might buy this album, or I might buy the previous one. I don't know. I really like Open Mike Eagle, and I'm very happy that you all insisted that I review it. And these people give me money, and some of that money will go to buy music. So thank you for putting up with my bad lighting. Thank you for putting up with my annoying dog. For putting up with that weird that we got going here. Got my Sony, got my Yamaha, got my Mitsubishi receiver. Got Kumo D. Oh, look at this right here. Oh, yeah, this right here. Fat Boys crushing. Those are the old days. Anyways, there's the camera.